everyone, and welcome to the 43rd Annual Mill Valley Film Festival. I'm Karen Davis, Senior Film Programmer, and it's quite an honor to be joined by Oscar-nominated director Paul Morrison and multiple award-winning stage and screen actor Dave Johns for this conversation about Paul's wonderful new film, 23 Walks, which premiered at the Cannes Festival this year. I'd like to start by saying that both Paul and Dave are not strangers to Mill Valley audiences over the years. Some of you will recall Paul's Academy Award-nominated film Solomon and Gaenor, which was screened at Mill Valley in 1999. And I think very many of you will certainly recall Dave's amazing performance in I, Daniel Blake, which screened in 2016 at Mill Valley. So in a sense, welcome back, gentlemen.
Hi, it's nice to be back.
Yeah.
So the first question I have is for Paul. 23 Walks is built around a very deceptively simple premise about what happens over the, but what happens over the course of the film is really quite profound. Can you talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to write the script?
Well, our dog died, and I wanted to remember him. So that was part of it. And then the idea of the walks came. You know, dog walking creates a certain rhythm in life. And I had the thought that it could create a certain rhythm in a movie as well. And then the love story grew out of that notion that two people could meet, could not know one another's names, but would know the dogs' names first, and would gradually get to know one another, and out of some need in each of them for connection and companionship, something would blossom. But of course it's a movie, so there's something that blossoms also has to come up against trouble.
As in life. Yes, you mentioned the knowing the dogs' names before the humans' names. I think I counted it was walk 9, where the dogs' names were exchanged. And the third walk was where the dogs' names were exchanged. And I think it was walk 9, 6 walks later, that they exchanged names. It's striking and perhaps British. I don't know.
When they happen in the States.
Hey?
I think the "hi, how you doing? My name is" comes before almost anything else.
Yeah, British then.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And now a question for Dave.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you what drew you to the story of 23 Walks and guided you through the production in terms of the character you portray. I mean, what is it about fictional Dave that you found most compelling and that you wanted to bring out in your performance? And perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how you prepared to become the Dave in 23.
Paul contacted me and said that he'd been working on a script, and we met for a couple of chats, you know, and he sent me the script, and I looked through it, and I thought it was a very sort of sweet, nice story, you know, very gentle, very human story. And I was drawn to, and then he mentioned that he wanted to put me and Alison Steadman together, and I'm a very big fan of Alison Steadman, and the chance to get to work with somebody of Alison's sort of stature and you know how well and how great she is, I jumped at the chance, and it was the story, it was the real simpleness of, you know, people going out walking, and then just, you know, at first they don't get on, and then sort of, you know, and it's the dogs that bring them together. It was just a nice, it was the gentleness of it in the sort of, how it's a typical bloke thing, you know. I think when Dave gets into all his sort of, he could have been very simple and just told Fern straight at the beginning, but I think it's a typical bloke thing that you try and keep things back, and it's not out of any malice, it's just because we're totally useless blokes, and so it makes things a bit worse. So I just like the way the story developed, you know, and I say get the chance to work with Alison was one of the big draws for me, and I loved Paul's Solomon and Gaenor. I loved that. I thought the pace of that film was really perfect, you know, and it was really, again, had that really human quality. And so that's why I jumped at the chance, really.
The other thing that happened was that when we met that first time, you said, when you do the rewrite, why don't you make it that he could be a bit dodgy, you know, that at the beginning, that he comes out with stuff and you're not quite sure about him. And so I put that into the
You made him a bit dodgier. You made Dave a bit dodgier.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you know, there's, you know, I mean, I'm meeting, you know, when they meet as strangers, and you know, and Fern, he tells Fern to come and have a look where the fields are, you know, and you know, and you wonder why Fern would go with this guy she's only met on 3 walks to go to this field she's never been to before. So you know, it's that sort of thing. But you know, you find out that it's just Dave's total incompetence, basically, rather than any malice. You know what I mean? He there's a lovely line in the script where Fern says to him, "You just endure, don't you? You just endure."
Yeah.
And I had a suspicion that some of the times I was playing you, Paul.
Your turn to comment on that, Paul. Do you just endure?
Yeah. Well, bits of you go into a script, you know, you can't help putting bits of your script. I don't think I was that. I don't think I am that character, but certainly that part of me found its way into the script.
That's lovely. So
and you have to be a bit of a stoic to make this film under the conditions that we made it under.
Yeah, and I just like the idea. I just like the idea of trying to put this film together. And like I say, it was such, every day was a joy working with Alison. You know, she's just absolutely. Every day I was thinking, wow, I'm getting to work with Alison. You know, and that was one of the big things. You know.
So we're speaking about Alison Steadman quite a bit as Fern, obviously, in the story. And Paul, perhaps you can talk with us how you worked with Dave and Alison to build the arc of the relationship. And was it a collaborative process between the 3 of you? And wondering what might have been the biggest challenges for both of you in making the Dave and Fern dynamic really, really work, because it's a bit of a roller coaster. It's a quiet roller coaster, but nonetheless, it's a devastating roller coaster, as the secrets are slowly, the onion is slowly, let's say, being peeled back in their lives to each other.
When you're working with people, actors as good as Dave and Alison are, you don't have to do a lot. I think that it's just a little nudge here and there, basically. And I felt that they really understood what the script was trying to do. We had a few days together of rehearsal before we shot. They understood what the script was trying to do, and I think they really understood their characters. So for me, it's in the casting, and the main challenge was working with the dogs. Keeping the dogs out.
Working with the dogs,
keeping the dogs out aware of the performance.
Maybe you can talk to us about casting the Tilly and Henry, because that's a process as well. But I wanted to leave Dave the opportunity to speak a little bit more. I was wondering about, had you worked with Alison Steadman before? Was this your first opportunity?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was well aware of how good she was, and I was a fan. You know, I mean, you know, the stuff that she's done sort of early on in her career is iconic. You know.
Yeah, I'll reference to our viewers Life is Sweet, which is one of the many films where she's been featured that has come to Mill Valley Film Festival before. Extraordinary.
Yeah. And the reason also what was great about working with Paul is because Paul works a lot like Ken Loach in the fact that he doesn't, you don't see him stuck away. A lot of directors are, you know, they're in their heads are in the monitor all the time. well, Ken Loach directs standing by the camera in the room of what he sees, and that's how Paul directs as well. And it's a very it's a good connection with the director, because you feel as though you're doing, like, you know, he's in the room, he's not just in some, it's not like you're doing a scene in the back of your head, you're thinking, oh, they've all got their head crowded around the monitor, that's quite off-putting. But when you can see Paul just standing watching it unfold in front of you, it's very reassuring, I find, you know. And that was why I enjoyed working with Paul. And Alison, you know, I mean, she's very, she's known because in her early career, Alison used to do a lot of improvising, you know. They used to improvise the scripts, and then they were written up, and then they would perform them. So off camera, when we had moments together in costume and thing, we used to have these two little characters that we used to play, you know, just improvise together, just to like warm us up, and that was really good fun, you know.
Lovely. Before we get to the dogs, and we will, it just brings to mind one of the extraordinary moments in the film is, I think it's walk number 19, if I counted them correctly. It's when you're in the park together, Dave and Fern, and she's wearing this overcoat, and then she turns to face him. She takes off the overcoat. She's wearing this beautiful black dress, and then she begins to sing, Bésame mucho. Right there to Dave in the park as the dogs are silenced and a few bystanders are looking on. And as amazing as her performance is, and it certainly is, it's, for me, the reverse shot of your character, you know, Dave, just brimming, holding in and brimming with love and desire as you're being sung to in the most romantic, erotic way. And it kind of steals the scene with the reaction shot. Perhaps you could talk about, Paul, as well, shooting that scene, which I think is just one of the gorgeous moments in this film. So rich emotionally and beautiful.
I think for me, it was, I felt it, you know. I just, you know, as I was watching that, and I wanted her because, you know, I wanted, as a character, Fern, I wanted her, because she's singing to me, I wanted her to feel that, you know, how that was the moment, I think, for Dave, when he just goes, oh, really, I'm crazy about this woman, you know, for her to do that for him in a park, you know, and surprise him. And so I think it was a very easy, you know, and I'm a little bit in love with Alison anyway, so. So it was easy.
Me too.
Yeah. No, she's great, Alison.
I think what I remember about shooting that scene is my note to you, Dave, was that in her gift, she's giving you this great gift of singing for you. And there's sadness for you in that kind of sadness about what happened to your wife, and
yeah,
you know, it brings up loss.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think what you're reading in Dave, Karen, is not only his love for her, but also his own grief.
Yeah. Which runs right away across the whole of the film, really. That underlying his grief, that, you know, is about his wife, because I think, you know, he still loves his wife, but it's the way it used to be, you know. And I think I think that's true.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, let's move to the dogs. How did you find Henry and Tilly, which are so perfectly adapted to each of their owners? Tilly being high-strung, Henry being high-strung, and Tilly being the opposite of that, sort of mellow, low-key, and willing to go along, just go along and endure, let's say.
Yeah. Well, you know, we auditioned a few dogs. Tilly and Sheila and Dennis, Sheila was Tilly and Dennis, they kind of stood out of the dogs we auditioned. I think I miscast Tilly slightly, in that actually she was too young for the role. And we had to do quite a lot of work to calm her down, for Dave to build a relationship with her where he felt in control, and for for when she gets sick, for her to do that bit. And so a lot of credit goes to Bruce, the editor, who's also a California man, but a lot of credit goes to the dogs and the dog handlers as well.
Yeah, there was a few times when Tilly would pull me out of shot.
Oh my gosh. She's on her deathbed. She's on her deathbed and she sees a squirrel, right? And you're going.
And I must say, Paul was great, sort of like, because I can imagine how frustrating that was for being a director when you're getting this shot, and then I would just go, whoa, the dog would just go. So that's for the bloopers. But the thing is, and what it was for me is because I don't have a dog, I don't have much contact with dogs. I don't hate dogs, but I've never had a dog. And so I'm not used to handling dogs, you know what I mean? So I had to learn, my partner said, if you can pull off loving that dog, you deserve an Oscar. But it was a lovely dog, and I built a little bit of a relationship with it, but it was weird because I don't spend time around dogs, so I had to just... But it was interesting, and at the end, you do build a relationship with the dog, Even sometimes you just want to kill them when they don't do what you want them to do,
Have the dogs gone on to do other things? Other roles?
Yeah, one of them starred in the new Batman movie.
No kidding.
No, I'm not joking.
I believed you there. I believed you.
I don't know. I don't know what the dogs are doing now. Probably, like COVID, probably not working.
Yeah, they're out of work.
Yeah, like everybody. Yeah.
But it does add a whole other layer to the planning of the filming, because the dog always has to be in sight of the dog handler. And basically, a lot of the time, the commands for what the dog are doing are coming from the dog handler. They're not coming from me, and they're not coming from Dave, or they're not coming from Alison. So you have to think about your shot in terms of where are we going to put the dog handler, and is the dog going to be looking in the right direction, and then the whole rehearsing and shooting the shot, and the thrust, how the patience that you two had as actors to deliver a performance in spite of whatever was going on with the dog.
Yeah, you had to, but that was quite because you had to adjust the performance to, you wanted the dog to do something, and when it didn't do it, you had to adjust to make it look real and just go with it. And that's also quite a nice thing for an actor to be able to, use your to intuitively change things and try and make it. So, it kept us on our toes, the dogs.
That unpredictable element.
Yeah.
I was very concerned that it not be too cute, that the film not be too cute, and that the dogs not be too cute, so that it felt both, that they were real,
Yes, real, yeah. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Particularly with Tilly, she's kind of a blank slate. You don't get... she delivers the performance you want from her, but clearly not the cuteness factor that often overwhelms a film at the expense of the other more subtle elements. So I've got one last question for Paul. Since we're on the subject of dogs, I noticed that the film is dedicated to a sweet-looking photograph of a yellow dog named Benji. And can you talk to us a little bit about Benji?
Well, it was Benji who, as I said, kind of whose death initiated the whole project. It was my way of remembering. And he was our family dog for nearly 16 years. He was a retriever. He had a very gentle temperament, much like Tilly, and also had a great sense of humour.
He had humor.
So, and also, I'm not giving any, whoever's going to watch this has seen the movie, is that right? It's going to go out. So I won't be giving you any spoilers when I say that the thing that happens around Chili's death did happen around Benji's death, that as Benji was very sick. And I called my son to say, well, we might have to take him to the vet. So my son said, well, put me on FaceTime with Benji. And that's when Benji died.
Wow.
I sort of used that in the film.
Yeah.
Scrupulously, as one does.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you want our folks to know about what's coming up, given that we're still under lockdown and that a lot of roles have been, directing jobs have been postponed, I imagine, even in the UK. But perhaps you could talk to us about what's next.
Well, I did a film early on in the last year, Fisherman's Friends, which was about a group of Cornish fishermen who sing sea shanties, and they basically they get picked up by a record producer who's on holiday in Port Isaac, and they get to become they play at the Glastonbury Festival, and they get an album out, and they get it to number 7 in the charts. And it's like a biopic, but it's loosely based on the real Fisherman's Friends. And that did so well, so they were going to shoot the sequel in April. In September, in a week's time. But that's been postponed to next year. And then I've got another film. So I've got 2 films next year. One shot in Belgium, which is called Turtles and Fisherman's Friends. So I'm just. I don't think I'll be doing anything the rest of this year. I think I've put 2020 on hold, I'll do some decorating in the house and fix some of the jobs that I need to do. So, yeah, I've got a couple of films next year, but I don't think anything's going to come in this year.
Well, I had a chance to do some more writing. So I've got a screenplay that's doing the rounds now. It's a Russian road movie. It's actually the story of a trip that I did to Russia in 1964, and took my guitar and we sang Beatles songs, the Socialist Youth Congress. I've got a new kind of COVID script that I'm halfway through writing. Set in my back garden. So if we have to shoot it there, we will.
I know. I mean, films are coming back, but there's been a lot of problems with sort of insurance and all that sort of thing, and having to shut a set down if one person gets COVID. And I think it just got too much for Fisherman's Friends too. I think they just said, let's just wait till next year now, So I think, like I say, I've got 2 films next year, but I'll just wait,
Yeah.
But I wish the festival, your festival, I hope it's a big success. And
thank you so much.
And one day, I've never been to California, so one day I might come and visit you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Please do. Yeah. And Paul, come back soon. Thank you both so very much. What an honor and a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you both.
Thank you.